Hang on here, folks. I'm having the technical difficulty myself here, so that's what I'm looking for. Okay, hey, how are y'all doing today? I have to do one other thing here before we get into the meat and potatoes of things. As soon as I find my damn remote, there it is. Time kind of snuck up on me, but yeah, what I'm going to do here is, before we even get started, I'm going to go ahead and toss the link in here if anybody wants to come up. And talk about this. This is just the introduction to the Foxfire series, and we're going to be starting with book 1. And I was looking over some of the chapters here. Some of the chapters I may skip over, not because it's not good information. I'm just trying to read them, and there are more chapters written by some of the people that they interviewed, and the writing's not the greatest. Let's put it that way. And you have to understand that these are written, they're bright people, but they were illiterate. That's the best way I can put it. These people knew what was going on, but they were illiterate to write anything on paper or read anything. They knew everything word of mouth. So, I mean, so you have to keep that in mind. Okay. Try to get everything all caught up here. Keep playing. Come on. There we go. Hey, what's up, Tennessee? And everything's locked up on me here. I don't know what's... There we go. Sorry about that. But we're going to start with book 1, and it's not going to be like a back-to-back. I'm going to do probably 2 or 3 chapters a month, at least 2 live streams a month on Fridays dedicated to Foxfire. The other 2 or 3 during the month are going to be either another book or just another topic. So that way I'm just not running it into the ground. There's going to be a breather in between. So maybe like every other week or something like that. And I think I'll keep things fresh, but won't be totally... Yeah, the wind here's finally died down, but yesterday it was brutal. Absolutely brutal. But yeah, back to what I was saying, people like every other week or something like that, and other topics. Because as I said, one of the focuses of the channel this year, or this spring, summer, fall, is going to be fishing. I'm going to be getting into some tournament bass fishing, slowly but surely. Kayak bass fishing, KBF stuff. And actually, that's what I want to be doing today. I actually wanted to be doing a live from the barn with my kayak, but it's 20-some degrees, and we still have about 1.5 inches of snow out there after it being almost 70 earlier this week. So yeah, fun times. But I got book 1 here. And some of the things, I'm actually going to go in and look at the chapters here. We got This Is the Way I Was Raised Up, and RE Wood, Tools and Skills. I mean, a lot of stuff. Building a log cabin, chimney building. There's a lot of different stuff in here. Some long chapters, some short chapters. So, but like a lot of the stuff that was actually written by the people that were in the area. Oh, that's just beautiful. That's beautiful, TM Bushcrafter. But I think a couple chapters here that I think some of the people that I watch may have interest in is preserving vegetables, fruit, and churning. Let me see recipes and some of the recipes in here: mountain recipes, recipes for hog. So I mean, these books, though, and I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I just got them. I've never read these before, so to me, this is kind of like a journey of discovery. Honestly, hey, what's up, A&M? So I know. I bet you Tennessee Bushcrafter already read these. I got all 12 of them for Christmas, and as I said, it's the first time getting them. So this is kind of like a journey of discovery for me myself. Um, so yeah, anybody who's read these, your input's going to be very valuable to me. Not only to keep me pointed in the right direction, to maybe help some of the other people out that may be coming to these. So, but yeah, I think this is going to be a very interesting series. Um, one of the things I wanted to kind of take away from this myself is I know some of the old ways that things were done. Um, Not so much with preserving or canning or anything of that manner, but hand tools, um, antique tractors. I know not exactly the oldest of ways, but a lot of these antique tractors. Yeah, see, I was thinking about doing the Kindle thing, but I like turning pages. When the power goes out, I still got this. um, that's just the way I look at it. I'm not making fun of anybody who has a Kindle. I mean, I think they are great. You can hold a whole library on them, but if you have to keep recharging, the power goes down. That's only going to go so far. That's just the way I see it. Different people see things different ways. I'm not making fun of people though who do have Kindles. I am not doing that. So there is that whole thing in a nutshell. Um, what I plan on doing with the books, and who knows, I may be doing some videos on maybe some of the easier things in there that I can do. Okay, and see, those are. I'm actually looking for books like that. As I said, I like a hard copy. That's just how I am. And I do have some books on foraging and some on medicinal plants. I think the main one I have on medicinal plants is the Peterson guide. Some people like it, some people hate it, but most of the people I talk to that use Peterson guide says it's. I got the one for the Eastern United States, and here in Pennsylvania, we have a lot of crossover between different zones and different areas. So this we kind of have a whole hodgepodge of stuff going on here. Oh, okay. Okay. I mean, I might look into one. I might look into one. I may not. I'm not sure. Um, because I actually have a couple solar chargers myself. I could charge up the charger itself, solar, and then have enough for four charges for my cell phone and the Kindle. I have a big cell phone. I mean, my cell phone is this big honking thing right here. I mean, it's a Sony, but this is like a military grade cell phone. So, um, so yeah, with that, with the Kindle, I can see where that would come in handy, especially. I take it when you go out to do a foraging, you go out looking for stuff, you take that Kindle with you. You know what book to reference. Like, okay, and you've got everything right there at your fingertips. That's where it comes in handy. Oh, that's cool. And see, that's where I have to learn how to do things electronically more efficiently, I should say, because I do know how to do a lot of stuff electronically, except go out and actually use a book as reference in the field. I can use a regular paper book, not a problem. But there is where the Kindle shines. Which kind of getting back to this whole thing, because you could have the whole set of these on the Kindle, along with everything else he's talking about, carry it in the field with you, and you have a whole library at your fingertips when you need it. Okay, I'm gonna put your comment up because you said something, and I'm guilty of not doing enough of it. But yeah, my Kindle can store hundreds, but like I said, my 14 books are all paper copies. I also journal a lot of it. Journaling, folks, journaling. And the journaling is very important, especially if you plan on doing something from year to year to year to year. I mean, and the more you journal, the more you'll be prepared for the next year there. And why I say that is with journaling, you can journal your mistakes, your successes, what worked, what didn't work, and that'll make you more efficient for the next year. Um, as I said, I actually need to do that a lot more, and I'm going to be doing that here soon because I'm going to be hitting the woods here soon. The only reason I am not in the woods right now is it's muddy and literally our woods when it gets muddy like this, it's literally ankle deep. Literally, it's a drudgery. Um, but that should be drying up here within about the next week or two. And the reason it gets that deep is right now with all the snow and rain that we've been having, the ground is actually oversaturated. Actually, the ground is completely waterlogged. So, I mean, you walk around out there, you're sinking up to your ankles every step you take, and I've hurt myself a couple times. Let's put it that way. Yeah, see, Tennessee bushcracker kind of got it going on here, and keeping a separate journal for what he's talking about there is very handy. It's a specific journal for a specific task, and a lot of the Foxfire, um, from what I'm told, is a lot of these families kind of went back and like, hey, we journaled all this stuff as well. Hey, Abby, how you doing? And that helped them in the following year. We had we used to keep our first horse in an old barn. The old farmer there, Rich, journaled everything from the time he got that farm to the day he died. So the family literally has, I think, about 75 to 80 years of that farm's journal. how the crops were this year, what they tried, what worked, what didn't work. 80 years of it. And it got to the point, I think his journal was actually almost was pretty much specific to the areas that he worked. He helped work other areas, and he knew the differences between his area and the other area that he worked, and did some flip flopping around and stuff, and actually made his area better by learning new techniques and stuff. Hey, Uncle Al. Oh, that's cool, Abby. Yeah, we're about the same up here in Pennsylvania. It's supposed to be like mid-late April for frost, and I've seen frost almost to the end of May. It's just crazy. See, I'm one of the people that I actually follow Shed Wars, but I don't plan anything just because I just literally do not have the time. A lot of these people have like literally like an 8-hour job. My job is, especially this next week, because I have to start an hour earlier. I'm still going to be getting home about the same time, so I'm going to be leaving at 3 o'clock in the morning. Probably not getting home to 6 o'clock, 6 to 7 o'clock at night in the evening. So, ow, that gives me maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours before it gets dark to get anything done gardening, and that's just not enough time. Oh, hey, that's awesome, Abby. That is absolutely awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, I hear you there, Tennessee. I hear you there. But I was hoping to have some warm days. In fact, one thing I'm going to be doing here, whether the weather's good or not, is don't laugh too loud, folks. I'm going to be getting some pool noodles to put on my roof rack until I get my roof basket, so I can put my kayak up there, and it has a little bit of padding to move around on. Yeah, and it's that you have like when you do that, you basically have no time to do anything. You only have like maybe a couple hours before you have to be back in bed and be back out the door. So that's what I'm kind of. I do want to do some woodlot homesteading stuff here, which is going to be another book that I'm going to be digging into as well. And so because with the Foxfire, I said I'm going to be doing like every other week or at least like 2 weeks a month, and the other weeks during that month I'm going to be doing something different. Woodlot Homestead is another one, and it's a newer book. Okay, hang on here. Got a troll. Come on. I'm waiting for that troll to come popping up here. There he is. Stop. Stop. There we go. And remove. Taking care of the troll here, folks. Give me a second. Remove. Remove. Okay, now we are going to hide user from this channel. And put them in timeout. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, yeah, that's cool. I'm going to be using pool noodles around my kayak. Eventually, I'm going to get some PVC pipe with the pool noodles and make a GoPro mount. a floating GoPro mount and maybe one for the for a GoPro mount to float and one for the kayak, like a pole style one for the kayak that goes above me, kind of points down. I have a couple kayak projects I'm going to be doing too, so. Yeah, which is very interesting. This troll popped up on my live stream, and it popped up. Well, I had one to pop up on my live stream on Friday, and it popped up on another one yesterday or the day before. I'm just like, that's the same guy. Oh yeah, and the thing with my kayak is it's not a sit on. Everybody for bass fishing prefers a sit on. I have a sit in. And the reason I'm just going to go ahead and run with that is because what I got. I can get out on the water and get some fishing done until I get enough money to get to sit on, which I have more storage with. Oh, I hear you, Abby. I do too. One of the things I was thinking about making, but the more I think about it, the more stuff I'm hanging on the kayak. Okay, see, Abby. I was making a rod rack out of PVC that kind of went down the side of the kayak for 6 rods, 3 on each side. But the more I think about it, the more stuff I'm hanging, because I have to take all this stuff off so I can flip it over upside down. Yeah, I hear you, Tennessee. What was that? But what I think I'm going to do with the rod hauling situation is I found everybody likes to use a milk crate. I found something that I think will work for me a little bit better. They use a milk crate because with a sit on, they can they have freedom to move that crate back and forth. With my sit in, I only really have an option for one place. So I found these baskets that are about 2 milk crates long, but they're maybe about half the size. I was gonna put that on there with rod holders on either side, so I could haul my 6 rods there. And the reason I'm taking 6 rods is I'm gonna have 2 rods that can do just almost everything, and then specialty stuff. If the rods that don't do everything are going to work, then I can kind of start. I can pull one of the 4 specialty rods, then and fine tune that technique. And I and as with boat fishing for bass, as opposed to this, I know a couple professional bass fishermen. They'll go out with about 31 different rods pre-rigged, ready to go. I'm parsed it down to 6. So it's kind of like how can I put this? Different tools for different applications type of deal. I'm gonna have one rod that I can do a lot with, cover a lot of ground with. And once I kind of key in on something that's working, then I could go to the specialty. I won't say a specialty rod, but a rod that's a little bit more attuned to a specific presentation, and then use that. Both. The lakes I'm gonna be Most of the lakes I'm gonna be fishing have both large and small in them, and it all I'm going to be targeting large, but I might go specifically targeting small as well, especially out on moraine. Um, they both have their own spots on moraine where they like to go, depending on the time of year. But also, there's a moraine is an extremely fickle lake. I don't think we hit pre-spawn yet. It got warm enough to actually start to spawn, but it cooled off again real quick. So I don't know if they actually started spawning yet. They no matter what they probably did, but I digress. The largemouth like to stay up on the flats, usually during the pre-spawn spawn. Oh yeah, I know you guys have the record smallmouth. I think Okeechobee still has a record largemouth, and they're actually not that. I think what the record smallmouth bronzeback you guys have is what about 18, 19 pounds, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe a little bit less than that. Because I know the record largemouth is up in the 20 pound area someplace. Um, and that's what I'm doing, just doing the bass fishing. Now I may target other species when I'm not tournament fishing. And the tournaments I want to go into, which I'm hoping to start in April, hoping, if not April, definitely May, is KBF has a monthly series. Okay, yeah, I heard it. I've actually heard of Dale Hollow Lake. I think they did a couple bass tournaments there, like national bass tournaments, Elite Series stuff, and I think in a one or two MLF tournaments as well. But the series that I'm doing is the KBF monthly series, and per state, um, lake requirements are you just have to fish public water. It's not a lake specific thing. You just have to fish public water. You have a little app. You measure the fish. You don't take a poundage. You measure the fish because it goes off at whoever has the most inches at the on your top 5 fish at the end of the month. You take a picture of it on the board. You got your tournament badge over here and your KBF thing or whatever, and they have a specified board that you have to use. It doesn't cost that much, like $23. But they have a specified measuring board that you have to use. They measure the fish, they verify it, and then they put it up. They do this all through an app. Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, because like around where I'm at, I don't know if you haven't done in Tennessee. We have what we call a 20 horsepower limit lakes. They used to be nine or 10 horse lakes, but I have a couple of those. Pontooming and Moraine. Those are both 20 horse lakes. That's all you're allowed on there. Anything bigger is illegal. And then I have like 3 or 4 unlimited lakes. But oh, see, that's awesome. I like to see that high school tournaments. Some people not in the know will probably laugh at bass fishing as a high school sport. Bass fishing, just like any other sport, you can get a full college scholarship out of it. If you're good, you can get a full college scholarship, get a free ride through college while you're doing your bass fishing, because a lot of those colleges have a bass fishing team too. So yeah, that's something. If you have kids and if they like to bass fish, and you have a high school that has a bass fishing program, I'd look into that. I would definitely look into that because you may be able to work your way into a scholarship that way. Getting back to my lakes, Moraine and Pontooming, they're pretty decent sized lakes. Actually, Pontooming is bigger than some of the unlimited lakes, but it's shallow. That's why they only let 20 horsepower on there. Same thing with Moraine. Moraine is a decent sized lake. Also have Kinzu Dam Reservoir, Wilhelm, Shenango, Crooked Creek. I could go mid-state out to Raystown, R.B. Stevenson, and those are the big lakes that you can put a power boat on. Then you want to get into some of the smaller lakes or smaller bodies of water. I wouldn't even call them lakes; it's more like a chain of ponds. Um, Bessemer, let's see, there's Bessemer. There is Charlotte Run Wetlands. There's the game lands. They have a couple small lakes down the game lands. Raccoon Creek State Park. So I have and those, I'm not even naming them all, but there's a ton of water right there that I can fish for these tournaments. So um, I may be using the big lakes. Some tells me I'm gonna be going to a lot of them smaller bodies of water. Yeah, we have a couple lakes that are electric only or no power. Then we have a couple other bodies of water up here that you're not even allowed a trolling motor. It's paddling only. You want to get from here over to there, you've got to paddle. Oh, we got the trout streams too, and I may try a little bit of trout fishing this year. I got the setup, and what I use for trout, people laugh hysterically, but I'm a catch and release guy. Let's get this out of the way now. I'm a catch and release guy. I have a problem. We don't know whether it's diverticulitis or it's an allergy, but I can't eat fish or shellfish. It sets it off. So I just catch and release. I don't keep anything. And using little guys like this, these little grubs, especially those white ones, I've caught a limited trout within an hour. Unstocked fish, native fish. It's all in the presentation. Many people when they go trout fishing, they go for a hunger bite. They're trying to put something in the water that's going to draw the fish in that are hungry. I go for a reaction bite. I throw that into the ripple, let it go down through the ripple right in front of their face, and kind of work it right in front of their face, and they bam. Yeah, see, we have fly fishing only areas. I'm just not coordinated. Well, I actually do have a fly rod now. Come to think about it, I just haven't used it in a while. I think Dad's been using it. I think he kind of took it over, so I'll have to get another fly rod. I use those with a little trout hook on my 6.5-foot spinning rod, which is going to be a project I'm going to be doing a video on here very soon. It's not an ugly stick. It's a 2-piece Shakespeare, but the upper half is loose. So I'm gonna laugh if you want. I'm gonna glue it in place so I can keep using it. I'm taking a 2-piece rod and making a 1-piece out of it. Is it the greatest rod in the world? No, it's not. To be honest with you, it's not. But I've used this rod so much, it's kind of a confidence thing. Until I actually start learning it, I'm going to be getting probably I'd say about 6 to 7 other rods, and in between there, I'm going to be getting that 1 piece of electronics. I'm buying a fish finder. I found fish finders I can use on my kayak, name brand, for like $170 some. Oh, pretty much. Pretty much. I was even going to epoxy or super glue, gel it in place, and then put a note on do not, because my dad will use rod every once in a while and tries to take it apart. I'm like, no, don't try to take it apart. It's a 1-piece now. Just don't. But I bought it as a 2-piece. It's a medium action rod, 6'6" medium action rod. Now I know when I glue it together, it's not going to be like a true 1-piece, but it's going to be more predictable. With the end starting to get loose and everything, you cast, and one cast would be good, the next one would be way over here, the next one would be way over here, and that's because that end's trying to do this, which is screwing up the way the line's coming out. So if I glue everything in place, it's going to be more predictable casting at least, and be a lot more accurate. which, as I said, I haven't really been fishing in 20 years. I'm going back to stuff from 20 years ago, and I'm like watching a bunch of stuff, and some stuff has stayed the same. There's a lot of stuff that's completely upside down and backwards now. I'm like, but I'm going to go with what I know and then build on skills from there. Which, the way I look at it, and some people may laugh about this, is I'm actually looking at it like I'm literally starting all over again from scratch. Is I'm kind of as I said, I'm kind of stepping back to what I know, but I'm being real about it because I have to redevelop that muscle memory. I have to redevelop strategies, redevelop everything. So one step at a time. Let's at least get out on the water and get a line wet and see if we can actually get something caught. And then we're going to start working on it from there. Another thing I was thinking about, because once the weather gets warmer, I may be doing. Yeah, see, that's where I'm at. I'm a delivery driver myself, and I gave it up for, well, between jobs, because I had another job I was working a ton of hours at too. That I had for 10 years before I had this one. So it's been about, I'd say about a good 10. How you doing, Uncle? It's been a good 10, 20 years since well, 10 for some things, because I behind it about 10 years ago. And I'm still having a problem with that because the hunting that I like to do, I can't see spending all that money on a hunting license when I'm only going to go out for 2 days. I can't. The means don't justify the cost. The cost. It just doesn't do it. But fishing, on the other hand, a couple, two or three of these lakes are on my way home from work, so I can stop on the way home from work, fish for an hour or two, then go home. So there's a method to my madness. I'm not driving my gas out to go fishing someplace after work, maybe on a weekend, but not after work. Um, Moraine, the one lake I was talking about, which is probably going to be my quote unquote home lake. I can get on my way home. It's like literally 1 minute out of the way. 1 minute. Yes. And I think you guys have something down there that we don't have yet. We don't have many around. We don't have many in the state yet, and that is feral hogs. Because everybody loves free range bacon. That's one thing I actually would love to try doing is hog hunting. Um, there was one thing I was going to say when it comes to live streams, because I am going to be doing some live streams from location, and the Friday live streams I want to do is going to be more fishing oriented. So when I do those ones from the kayak, I'm not going to be using StreamYard. I'm just going straight from my phone straight to YouTube. So that would be interesting. Checking something out there real quick. Oh, I can see that. I can see that. I know a lot of people who do that. That's another reason why I don't have any animals here. So I do not have the time right now to take care of them right. I can take care of them, but it's not going to be the way they should be taken care of. There's going to be like I'd feed them in the morning, a big long period of time till I feed them in the evening. There's a short period of time I'm feeding them in the morning again. So yeah, it doesn't give them a good biologic schedule, so to speak. It's their biologic schedule is going to be all flipped around. Now, one thing I did find out, getting back to the whole fishing thing. Who's this? Oh, that's right. NASCAR's on today. Looking over the map of Moraine, there's a lot of spots I want to try out. Oh, that sounds good. That sounds real good, actually. And I was actually looking at Dutch ovens yesterday. Found out there's a Sportsman's Warehouse a lot closer to me than what I thought. We used to have one 15 minutes away from here. They actually closed that one. Oh hell. They probably closed that one about 14 years ago. And they moved out of the state of Pennsylvania. Hey, zombie, what's up? So, when they moved out of Pennsylvania, they stayed out for a while, but they put another one in, but they put one in Washington, down Washington County. Okay, I'm like, okay, that's a little far to go. Then they put one in over Robinson. I'm just like, ooh, there we go. Robinson's fairly close. It's about a 25-minute ride for me, but that's a lot better than like a 1 hour ride down Washington. And I was talking about getting electronics for the kayak. I'm looking at a Garmin Fish Finder. I'm going to go back in and look at the specs of it again, but I do believe it has the sonar. It also has the sideways facing, almost like a live, not like a live camera, but it actually shows you what's down there, not just like an outline. You get like a picture of it. And it gives you all that in a unit about that big around. If you look at some of these people that do the KBF, they actually almost turned their whole kayak into like a little miniature bass boat, literally. They got the two big Hummingbird TV screens on there, and I'm not making fun of them. If they could do it, hey, God bless them. That they have that gives them an advantage. I'm trying to do the same thing on a budget, so I'm kind of sticking with a unit that'll do both. That's this big. But the beautiful part of that is it doesn't draw as much battery than those two big Hummingbird units do. Yeah, I don't have a trolling motor, but I'm going to be running a battery on my kayak, at least for that, maybe for a recharging unit too. So for like my phone or my camera or anything else. So yeah, I have plans when it comes, like in that regard. I have plans. I'm not saying they're good plans, but I have plans, which means I might have to make a battery box. And when I do that, I'm probably changing some stuff around. Everybody puts like the gauges and the plugs beside each other, going across the front, going across like one of the sides. I may put it on front because I'm actually going to try mounting it beside the seat. So I'm going to put everything on the front of it, or actually, I should say the back of it, not the side with the latch, the opposite side, from top to bottom. As an idea, I'm not going to say it's the greatest idea, but actually, I know a couple people that have those Hobies. You got to do something awfully stupid. I mean, awfully stupid to flip one of those things. They walk around on them like they're on a bass boat, and that kayak stays stable. That's what I watched a couple people live. I wasn't not on video. I was actually watching them in a pool live, walk around and demonstrate the thing, and they were, hey, no problem, Tennessee. I will. Hey, Chris, what's up, bud? But they're actually standing on the gunnels. The kayak was sticking out of the water like this, and it was not trying to flip. That was the craziest thing I've ever seen. I mean, they had to do something really stupid to get that kayak to roll over. And once they got it to roll over, after doing something awfully stupid, it was easy to flip it back over and get back on it. So eventually, I'd like to have a sit-on with a pedal drive unit. Honestly, and maybe put a trolling motor on that with a power pole at one point, but I'm not going to have as much weight as you think, because the battery I'm looking at, they have batteries this big around, like this, that weigh about 3 pounds, that put out as much as that deep cycle battery. I was going to use one of these old batteries like this, because I'm not, for what I'm doing, I'm only powering recharging some stuff and powering a fish finder. On those bigger ones, they still use that same battery about this big around. It's a slick setup. They went from the water core to lithium ions. There's actually a couple setups I was watching. They get about a half a day out of it, but they run a trolling motor, their fish finder, and a couple other things, and they're using a drill battery. Amazon sells mounts for those rechargeable drill batteries, and that's what they use. They'll charge about 3 or 4 of those drill batteries, because they weigh less than a half a pound a piece, if not less. Plug the thing in and go. Oh, I hear you, Chris. Yeah, there's a couple things I actually wanted to do today. I just remember I was telling you I was making a shopping list last night. Went down to Walmart, they only had one item. And the one thing I thought for sure that they would have, they didn't. And that was quarter 20 bolts. And a quarter 20 bolt would be for that right there. And what was, yeah, I hear you. Oh, I got you. I got you. Now, if you want to laugh, talking about batteries, a lot of these guys use those Power Wheel batteries. You know, to put the Power Wheels for your kids, those are the batteries that they use. Yeah, I'm glad Gina liked your gemstones, though. If you guys didn't see it, go over to Cosmic Cultivators page there and look up Gina's birthday bucket with the gems. That was fun watching her do that. That was really fun watching her do that. Which tomorrow, talking about that, I'm gonna stop by the Appalachian Rock Shop and see if they still sell those buckets down there. So maybe I'll get, I don't know if they do add-ons or not, but I think they had buckets, or at least they had bags of stuff that you could buy. That looks like a good idea. I never really thought about the fire alarm batteries. Very interesting. Yeah, I've seen that too. Kind of funny. Yeah, but to get back to the point of the video, starting on Friday, we're going to be starting book one of the Foxfire series, which would be this little bad boy right here. And they're doing some basket weaving on the front of that. We're only starting up with this, and I'm probably going to be starting with. As I said, I'm going to probably skip a couple chapters about people, unless I find them really interesting. We're going to be starting with wood, which is going to be page 31 to page 38, maybe some tools and skills. But we're going to be definitely starting with wood, different uses. Yeah, that's what I heard. North Carolina is probably one of the richest mineral states anyway. No, you're fine. Tennessee, I can tell you for a fact, Uncle Al's known me for a while. Chris has known me for a little bit. I'm easily deterred. I can deter myself like that. So yeah, you're good. But we're going to start with wood in this and different uses and what these different woods were used for, along with maybe some more modern stuff that I know about. Like I have been talking about wood, I've been collecting some pallet wood, not to burn. I've been collecting pieces of it, not full pallets, but pieces of it. Around here, we have our pallets are made out of three different types of wood: pine, which is not the most desirable, poplar, and oak. And I'm going to try to make some jerk baits and some fishing lures out of those. Why am I using pallet wood? I can get it for free. It's good practice. Whether they come up good or they come out bad, the material is free. So I think it's going to be good to practice on until I start getting better wood. Plus, if I make the same jerk bait out of poplar as I do out of oak, maybe even out of pine. Yeah, I'm not crazy about that idea, but maybe even out of pine. Each one of them's gonna have a slightly different action, go to a slightly different depth, and have a slightly different wobble to them, I guess. So there's gonna be variations between those three pieces of wood. See, that's a good idea with the honeysuckle vines. Weaving baskets. Back to what I was saying though. If I make with those three different types of wood that I'm getting for free and making lures, it's good practice. I can hone in on that skill and maybe come up with some ideas. And when I start getting the better woods, because each wood's going to have a different buoyancy to it. Plus, I'd like to get a lead pot that I can melt lead in and has a bottom that I could actually drill some cavities and actually put lead in too. Oh, there you go. I have a Pachette airbrush I've never used. I actually bought it for $25. It was brand new when I got it. But I'm going to try to learn how to use that and see if I can mix craft paint because I like using acrylic just because of ease of use. Acrylic, you do not need a thinner for. You can thin it with water. So see if I can use the craft paints through the airbrush. Not the greatest, I understand that, because I have craft paints out the wazoo. If not, I'll go get the airbrush, see if I can find acrylic airbrush paint. But some of them that I do have craft color flip paint. The one I have goes from gold It goes from blue to green to gold. Which, if you ever seen a bass and you bring it out of the water, the blue to gold is definitely there. Depending on what light you're holding in, it's either going to look green or it's going to look gold. And here's something to remember about bass, whether it's largemouth, spotted, smallmouth, what have you. Bass are cannibalistic. They will hit on a smaller bass as fast as they'll hit on a minnow, bluegill, or anything else. They are cannibalistic. Especially around this time of year when the water warms up. Okay, I'm gonna have to look those up. Definitely gonna have to look those up for the craft paints, because once I figured that out, I said I got craft paint out the wazoo, and if I fail a couple times with the craft paint, I just run some water, maybe a little bit of alcohol through that airbrush, blow it all out, try again. That's no big deal. And when it comes to covering my whatever baits I make right now, I'm going to be using polyurethane for right now till I get a good epoxy coat. I'll probably put like 2 or 3 coats of poly on. Now, what's funny is I was like, don't use poly, don't use poly. I have a bait downstairs that I did probably about 30 years ago. I did that, and I covered it in poly. And it's still, this is 30 years later, been sitting in the box after it got used and abused for 10 years before I did it. And it still looks like brand new. And so, yeah, when I was doing the polyurethane with that, I wasn't painting it on. I was dipping it and kind of moving it around until the poly set up. Once the poly set up, I'd put it in the clamp, kind of hang it up, and then turn it every once in a while. Because on the back, I had a hook on it, so I could turn it upside down. And it's kind of like putting that bait, once you put the epoxy coat on a rotisserie. Because once that epoxy starts to kick, you put it on a rotisserie to get an even coat all the way around. Because it's going to kick on the outside, but stuff in between the outside and the bait's still going to be fluid. So you put it on a rotisserie, and as it goes around the rotisserie, it will get a good cure from one end to the other of an even thickness. Yeah, and the poly I had, I think I used a gloss poly on it. And that's more to protect it than anything else. Now what's funny, that one that I painted, I actually painted with Pactra model, actually craft / model paints. It was enamel, it wasn't acrylic, it was enamel paint. I had a thing of green, I had a thing of gold, and I dumped them all into one jar. Like, they're both brand new, dumped them all into one jar, mixed it up, and that's what I painted it with. I put the black lateral line on it with Testers black and eyes and Testers yellow. And if you looked at it, it looks like a 3-year-old painted it, but that's probably one of my highest producing shark baits that I own. And the reason I did it, it was a Rapala balsa that I stepped on. I didn't damage the balsa, but I knocked half the foil off of it. So that's why I got painted the way it did. I'm like, well, either I can throw it out and repaint it and keep trying to use it. And after I repainted it, it was better bait than what it was before. I can't figure that one out myself, so, but it worked. But some of the jerk baits I'm thinking about making are going to be about from this long to maybe about this long, varying in height. It all depends on how thick the wood is. I'm going to be probably making some smaller jerk baits too. Yeah, and that's one thing about the lures is I think it'll be okay because they're either gonna be in the water or in a tackle box, not gonna be left out in the sun for days on end, unless I lose it, and then that's a whole different ball game there. But I as I said, I do like 2 or 3 coats of it, so I think I should be okay. But one of the things I'm thinking about doing is I have pearlescent glitter. Uh, if I decide to start brushing on the poly, I'll probably be putting it on thick and turning it around until it kicks and can kind of even itself out. But I'd like to do a bait with that pearlescent glitter in it. I was going to actually take some of that poly out, put it in a separate container, then work with it from there with those flakes mixed in. I think that'd be interesting. Yeah, so we went from Foxfire to fishing to foraging, back to fishing, a couple other subjects, back to fishing, lure making. Where else can you get this in one live stream? But yeah, I'm actually at the 1 hour mark, but no, I don't think anybody else is doing anything right now, so I may just keep on rumbling for a little bit. That's interesting. Yeah, I had a pop up, a news pop up come up, and Fabian Casteau, which is what's his face Casteau's son, is making it is investing in an underwater lab. Cool. um, yeah, I'm gonna be making jerk baits with the wood I'm getting because it's only about maybe that thick. I may try some slab sided um, crankbaits too. The slab sided crankbaits, depending on what type of lip you put on, they get a really erratic action going too. Um, and with the different woods, I'm probably gonna, I was thinking about that. I was thinking about fly tying, and it's not a bad idea. It's just I don't have the patience for it. That's one I've actually tried, and the more I tried it, the more frustrated I got. I'm just like, it's not worth this. That's why I'm kind of going back to the. I know how to manipulate wood. When I have to manipulate hair and feathers and stuff, I might as well have 10 sausages instead of 10 fingers. Oh, I know what you're saying now. My bad. My bad. I know what you're saying now. And yeah, I have looked at some of that stuff. I've also looked at some other stuff for like jigs. Jigs or sonic baits. They sell those prismatic stickers. But when it comes to other materials, I've actually looked at hobby shops for custom colors. Um, yeah, yeah. That's what I figured out now. I'm just like, well, wait a minute, I'm not tying flies. We're talking about jerk baits. Yeah, I might try tying some tails for them. Maybe that's a big maybe. As I said, I've got 10 sausages here. So let's see what happens. Let me try perfect making the jerk baits first, then I'll worry about tails and everything else. But I have a magazine back, not a magazine, but a catalog back here of nothing but bait and rod making supplies. Ironically, because I want to buy, as I said, like 6 different fishing rods. I was also pricing out making them myself. The blanks almost cost more than the rods I want to make. The blanks for the rods cost more than the rods that are pre-made that I want to buy. So I'm like, is that really worth it? And like I was looking at the rods I was looking at were like St. Croix, blues, some Shakespeare stuff. Abu Garcia, Favorite, and a couple other ones. Yeah, so the fine work kind of escapes me at times. I do know somebody has fat fingers, so he could tie a fly, and he has forceps. I mean, hemostats in each hand, and his sister works on the hemostats and ties knots and everything. I'm like, how in the hell do you do that? But that's something else I may try in the distant future is making my own rods. Find out what I like, what kind of actions I like, um, what kind of characteristics I'd like to have in a rod. I wouldn't say actions, more or less characteristics, because one person's medium heavy is a little, not much, but a little bit different than somebody else's medium heavy or medium light or what have you. From tip to butt, most rods now are graphite, and they got this what they call parabolic curve on the tip part of it until you get about 1/3 of the way down, and then you go in the backbone. That it will still flex, but the further down the rod you get, the stiffer it gets. Oh yeah, and a whipping tool. That's one thing I actually want to get because I actually seen somebody use a whipping tool to whip rope. That's something I can actually do by hand. It's big enough I can work with it. But I've seen somebody use a whipping tool for fly fishing or fly tying to whip rope. Now they're not whipping stuff this big around. They're doing smaller stuff like braided cord, cotton braided cord to be more precise, because it's something that you couldn't melt. They had to whip it or tape it, one of the two, and they'd whip it and works great. Um, with building the rods, there's a lot of stuff that you need to do that. Um, which a form of a whipping tool. Yes, I was just getting to that. A whipping tool is used for eyelets on a rod. In many cases, I have seen two different schools of thought on that. A lot of people will still whip on an eyelet. And after they whip on the eyelet, they'll take either like a clear coat of some type, or a clear nail polish and paint the whip. At least put like one or two coats on that whip, because when that dries to the rod, it becomes solid. It helps glue that eyelet in place. The other school of thought I've seen is I've seen people use shrink tube when making rods. They get the eyelet where they want it. They'll actually have like a little piece of tape there holding it in place. Either end, they'll slide on a piece of shrink tube once they get the eyelet position, and they'll use the shrink tube to shrink it to hold it on the rod permanently. And the shrink tube that they use, I can't remember the name of it, but I see them use it a lot in car stereo electronics. When you heat it up, it actually exudes resin and actually seals itself shut. So it will actually glue the eyelet in place, like that clear coated whip for the eyelet. So I mean, there's a lot of different avenues. Ooh. Let me guess, you're whipping them right underneath the head of the axe around the axe handle to protect the axe handle from any accidental blows. If I had to guess, I've seen a couple people though whip axes back together like he's talking about because the axe handle was actually broken and they couldn't get another one for a bit. But I've seen axe handles that were broken that they would whip with hemp from the head of the axe on down to maybe not, they came down like maybe about 8 inches at the most to protect the handle or that part of the handle of the axe from accidental blows on anything that could break the handle. It's not a guarantee, but it's a little added cushion and protection on it. And my axe, I don't really have to worry about that. My cruiser axe, I have a cruiser axe that's about this long, and it's not a. It has a fiberglass handle on, but it's not a full fiberglass handle. It's a fiberglass handle with a full tang axe. The axe head and the metal coming off that's one piece from the head to the butt. It actually runs through the fiberglass. So if that fiberglass ever comes off, I could actually still rig up that axe and use it. Gotcha. That would be another guess. I didn't throw that out there, but that hemp rope's going to give you a lot of grip on it on a hickory handle. Especially those hickory handles get smooth. It's like trying to hold on to slick marble. Sometimes it just doesn't work when it gets wet. But yeah, like that. I have an S-wing. The hatchet that I carry and my cruiser axe are both S-wings. The cruiser axe doesn't go with me all the time. That's more for if I have any heavy work I want to do. The hatchet, on the other hand, it goes with me a lot more. And there is a project I'd actually like to do. Oh, same here. If you break an S-wing, you done messed up. I also have one of these. Let's see, there we go. It's basically made from a plate of stainless. Not the greatest thing in the world. I know that. But the thing I don't like about it, number one, is that blade. It's a hollow ground blade. Hollow ground on an axe is not the most robust thing. I mean, these are not that robust anyway, but to put a hollow grind blade on something like this is just asking for it to dull quickly. The second thing I didn't like about this is one of those parahatches had a paracord wrap on it. Didn't like that either. I swung this in twice, and on the second swing, that handle already started coming off on me. So I kind of ditched the handle altogether. I would like to put some wooden scales on this to give it give my hand a little bit more purchase. Not exactly needed, but if you use this thing for a good long while, that plate's going to start digging in your hand a little bit. And I like to take the blade, that's a hollow grind, and turn it into a Scandinavian grind, which is a little bit more robust than what that hollow grind is. But the way I look at it, I bought this thing brand new for $7. Okay. It's not expensive. This is cheap. If it doesn't work, I'm out $7. But if it does work, for what I use the S-wing for, I'd be using this for about the same thing. I'm just using it to process firewood. That's it. This is a lighter option than that S-wing. Right now, my hiking pack weighs about 30 pounds. This will take it down to about 28. And one thing about hiking is weight equals pain. Actually, I don't have an 18-inch bill hook, but I have this in a Jeep right now. And it has a bill hook on it. It's kind of like a or what I call it. Bushcrafter's friend or fireman's friend or something like that. It had like a bill hook, a machete, bill hook on one side, machete, had a like it was like a chisel blade on it and a couple other things. I got something like that. Kind of an interesting little deal. But I also have two other machetes. I have a kukri style machete, and I got a machete that just straight edge. It doesn't have a rounded blade on it. It's a straight edge. It looks more like one of the swords from Lord of the Rings than it does a machete. But all three of them work very well. So the kukri style machete, I think, works the best. And the reason I think it works the best is on your swing, with that blade being canted like this, you don't have to go quite as far to get the velocity. Even though the blade's canted, when you come in with your velocity, that angle kind of gives it like a little extra oomph to the cut. Yeah, I'm not sure what mine is. I think mine is either Gerber or a K-bar, but I got it used for $25 because the guy didn't like it. He said the same thing, wears them out in about 5 minutes. I don't use mine for over 5 minutes anyway. Yet. There's a couple places on the property which that's probably going to come into play because of vines, but I'm going to cross that bridge when I get to it. But yeah, those two. Yeah, that's one of the traditional kukris, if I'm not mistaken. I would like to get one of those too. A traditional kukri. Now, somebody told me something about those though. Before you put your kukri away, in order for it to be a true kukri, every time you pull it out, it has to draw blood. If it doesn't draw blood, you don't put it away yet. But that's also a Vietnam wartime thing too. So take that with a grain of salt. Yeah, so that's like kind of all kinds of fun. One of the other things I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going back up to Solitude. I wanted to use Solitude last year, and I kind of start running back into that time issue again. Oh, I get that. I definitely get that. But back to Solitude. I'm going to be using Solitude. I wanted to use it last year, and what work did is they upped my hours on me. In fact, instead of doing one run, I was doing 2 runs a day. Actually, my hours are down this year. That's what they were the last year. I'll take the difference in price because I can actually do stuff during the day now. So, no, I don't have a lot of day, but I can still do stuff during the day. Last year, with the way I was working, even the longest day of the year, I was leaving work. I was leaving home before the sun came up, and I was coming home after the sun came down. And when the sun goes down at 9:30, and that's when you're finally rolling into the house, there's a problem. So I'm definitely going to be doing some stuff up there. Might be making a new fire reflector. I definitely want to have a fire reflector up there. Set up my tarp, goof off up there for a little bit. May have some other plans for that going one way or the other. I'm not sure which way I want to go with it yet. But probably someplace down around my area, the Solitude area, I may end up putting a deer stand. Not up where I'm using that area, but down at the foot of it. So I may expand that area out a little bit. Maybe put a trail cam or two, a trail cam, maybe 2 trail cams in that area, and then see what I can come up with. The reason I would put the tree stand in where I want down close to the bottom of it is on that bottom along that secondary ridge. Deer like to move along that. So I have kind of an ambush point right there. Plus, other than that, how I found that area was following a deer path. I'm going to try to have it at an angle where I can see that secondary ridge, but I can also see what's going on above me up in Solitude too, which is only going to be about 20 feet behind, 20 feet kind of at an angle behind the tree, and have it cleared out to a point that once they get to a certain point of my turn, I can shoot there too. So yes, I might be getting a hunting license this year and doing some archery hunting after work. Which for me, that's that time of year up here. I'd be coming in and be putting on one of my camo sweaters and taking a bow and going out. Simple as that. Maybe spraying on some. I'm not saying scent, but it's something to mask my scent, or like may play with some ozonics because ozonics is not as expensive as a lot of people think it is. They have these units you can hide, you can hang in the tree, and everything goes downwind, and it masks your scent. So I have a couple options there. So I think I'm going to go for about another 8 minutes and call it done. But that's kind of like one of the plans I have for Solitude anyway. I think it'd be a good spot to hunt. Plus, if I can get set up the way I want to set it up while I'm hunting, it has like a little fire ring there. I'm going to redo and put another pot crane in there as well. Oh, we're back again. Look at you. And we're going to put user in timeout. Now, what the hell's going on here? Okay, here we go. Damn trolls. So I thought I blocked them, but apparently I didn't. Okay, let's try this again. Yeah, so what we have around here vine-wise is we don't have any honeysuckle. We have grapevine, strangler vine, and some other that I've never seen before. I don't know if it's like a wisteria or that strangler vine is bad enough. We have a couple areas here, and I was kind of reading about that in my woodlot homestead book, and I've seen it happen. I've actually watched it happen. We had an oak tree that watched about probably it was about that big around, if not bigger, up in the crown of that tree. It had so many vines in it that were growing that it literally ripped the top the whole way out of the tree. I was walking and I heard like crack, crack. And I looked over the tree and literally the vines got tight enough as they were growing that actually ripped the whole crown out of that oak tree. We have some of those vines starting to grow here. So I want to get those taken care of and killed as fast as possible before it starts doing the same thing on my property. Because what they do is, if you don't get to them right away, you let them start pulling stuff down, it just turns into a tangled mess. It's almost impossible to deal with. It can be dealt with, but now it's going to take a lot more time than if you just eliminated it from the get-go. So yeah, those vines can be bad news. Yeah. Another one that I heard is bad down around your area, maybe it's a little bit more south of you, is wisteria. I know people or know of people that live down around the Georgia area that had wisteria like would almost grow up over their barn in a week, would start pulling boards off the side of the barn. Yeah, that wisteria, once that stuff gets out of control, it's almost impossible to stop. We had a little vine like this that was growing next to our house, and we never really let it get out of control, but we ended up digging all of it up and anything else that came up and got it out of there. We put it in a pot so we could keep better control of it. Because even after we dug it up, we go back here about every other day. There'll be a new shoot coming up out of the ground. So every time we got a new shoot, we dig it up and throw it over the hill. Yeah, kudzu was bad stuff too. Interesting fact. I don't know if you ever listened to the Mossy Oak Gamekeepers podcast. A couple guys found out that kudzu, deer love kudzu. They will eat kudzu. So what they did is they found an area of kudzu on their property. They would literally clear cut around it for about 40, 50 feet away from that kudzu patch so they could keep control over it. Yeah. And they would use the kudzu as a feed plot and a place for them to shelter. But yeah, we have kudzu is bad up here. There's some places down in Pittsburgh that as soon as it leaves up, it's just kudzu as far as the eye can see. There's some areas in the woods around here like that too. Kudzu as far as the eye can see, and it's just it's some places in the woods it's high enough that you actually walk underneath it. There's tunnels going through it, but yeah, it should be there. Like another thing, and that's actually yeah, I did know that. One thing that we have grown rampant up here that I absolutely hate is multiple rows. Those multiple rose bushes that have those thorns all about this long, it's like a cat's claw. They're not straight. They literally like hook over like this. And once they hook into you, the more you move, the more they work in. Oh my, those things are horrible. I've been tangled up in those, and I've been tangled up in barbed wire. And if it meant I never got tangled up in the multiple roads again, start wrapping me with barbed wire. I'll take that any day. It's 10 times worse than barbed wire. I hate that stuff. Of course, when I got tangled up in it, I literally fell into going about 35 miles an hour off of a mountain bike. So that didn't help things either. But I digress. But I think I'm going to go ahead and call it here. I got about 45 seconds left, so by the time I'm done yammering on here, we'll be at 1:30, like an hour and a half anyway. So I thank you all for coming. I appreciate all you came. Love y'all. And I will talk to you all on Wednesday, which tomorrow I'm going to have the subject for that. So I love y'all. I'll talk to y'all later. See ya.